I'm fine, thank you. I would like to ask you, what did you see from Thanasis in the last couple of games? How important was his presence on the court, and what would you like to maintain as a team for the rest of the season?
I mean, his energy is contagious. I mean, I think he's been playing well. He comes in, he rebounds, he pushes the pace, and just his energy, his positivity is contagious for us.
Jim Wazarski.
Donte. It was interesting. Drew said last night that he thought, this trip was a good start to the coming together of what this team, what you guys want to be once you hit the playoffs, being that there's 25 games, 30 days to that. So I guess, do you agree with that idea that this is a good start for you guys to kind of stop, not stop learning, but putting it all together to be where you want to be in May?
No, I mean, for sure. I think this road trip is going to be a mental test, being on the road this many days, coming back and playing a tough Charlotte team on a back-to-back. I think mentally it will be a grind for us and it will be a test. But ultimately, yeah, what Drew said is putting everything together at this pace. We're playing some good teams out here, and it will get us ready for the playoffs.
Chris said last night that, look, as starters, the fact that your last two games all together, Boston last night, you're pulled off the court when you're not winning by 20 plus, and it's the other way around. And while you can't dwell on that, it leaves a little something, kind of a sour taste. Is that kind of the feeling amongst you guys, is just, okay, whatever that means competitively, I guess, for you guys as a starting group?
Yeah, I mean, both games, the other team played well. You have to give them credit, but at the end of the day, we have to come out with better energy, better execution, and better defense. Just plain and simple, we got to come out, especially that first unit. We just got to come out better and play for a full 48.
Eric Name.
Donte. After one of the first games you guys had switched, I think it was on Doncic at that Dallas game early in the year. I'd asked you about hey, you and Drew trying to figure it out. You guys obviously did some switching again last night against Kawhi. What do you think you guys have learned kind of over the course of the year in that? And do you feel like you guys have taken some steps forward?
Yeah, I think there's obviously game by game, it's a little bit different, depending on depending on the matchup. But yeah, I think we have the ability to switch 1 through 5 and kind of scramble, and everybody has confidence in everybody guarding each other. But like last night with Kawhi, we knew he was going to try to get downhill, get to his mid-range. So with Drew, with that red, we were just trying to keep him coming, just to get him back on him, so he wasn't passing early. And then once we could get Drew back on, I got out. So we're just messing around with a few things and mixing it up, and I think it's good for us.
How do you feel like the switching affects your guys' help defense? Do you feel like you're still able to be as active as helpers, or are you not supposed to? How has that kind of affected that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're gonna mess up the red, or whether the guy didn't get screened, or maybe you thought he got screened, or somebody calls out red and they don't honor it. You're gonna mess up. So I think with the red defense, it gets us into that scramble mode, and I think we're all athletic, we're all quick enough to get to the next guy to scramble out to get stops, and then ultimately I think it just challenges us to get a body on their offensive board, and make sure that we hit them on the glass.
I'm curious, you guys played a ton of zone in that game that you were out, that all the starters were out. You played zone the whole game. You guys tried it in the third quarter last night. What do you kind of see in that, and how comfortable are you starting to get with it? I don't think you were in that entire unit.
Yeah, no, I wasn't in it yesterday, but watching from the bench, it's good for us. We worked on it again today, and day by day, where I think we're getting better at it, and we're trying to figure out different things. And obviously, teams are going to run things against our zone, so just basically getting our core principles down for that zone and getting ready to use it in the later half of the year is good for us.
Melissa Rowland with Fox Sports.
How much are you guys viewing games against the Clippers and some of your other tough upcoming opponents as a measuring stick of sorts?
Sorry, you were breaking up. What did you say?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
How much are you guys viewing that game against the Clippers and some of your upcoming really tough opponents as a measuring stick of sorts at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, every game that we play is a measuring stick, but especially those teams last night. Again, tomorrow night, I think it just basically shows us what we need to work on in the playoffs. And these teams are leading their conference, and they're great teams. They're well-coached teams, and they know how to dissect what we're doing. So being able to adjust to what they're doing and seeing where we're at right now in the season, and it just gives us like you said, a measuring stick of what we need to get better at.
Zora Stevenson.
Hey, Donte, I know everybody goes through these, we're on the road stretches, but when you saw that second half of the season schedule come out and you saw, okay, you guys are going to be on the road for 6 games, come back for 1, and then have 3 more on the road, what did you initially think of that 2-week stretch?
I said, damn, that's a long road trip. But no, we have a tough schedule, but I think it's good for us. I think it will challenge us mentally. I think it will challenge us physically. And honestly, it just shows us that if we get through this, we win the road trip. It'll show how together we are.
And then what's your one thing that over the years you've brought on these road trips to get you through that, I know some guys, maybe it's their favorite snack. I see, Mamadi brought some sort of guitar. What's your thing that you bring?
I play my video games on the road just to escape, get away from basketball for a little bit, and talk to my friends from back at home. So that's what I carry, that big old briefcase that I carry that you see pictures with. That's a screen in my Xbox in it, so that's what I got with me.
All right, one more back to Jim.
Hey, Donte, you guys have been without, I guess, like the traditional backup point guard for a few weeks now. I know a lot of you guys can handle the ball and initiate, but generally speaking, when a new veteran backup point guard could come in, what does that add to the group? And in terms of the rotations and just that maybe alleviating some of the initiation, when that kind of player is on the roster.
I mean, it adds another threat when you're getting a vet. It adds a guy who has knowledge, who has experience, and knows how to make other guys better. So when you add that, ultimately we get deeper and we get stronger.
All right, thanks, Donte.
Thank you.
I guess was PJ able to practice at all today in any degree?
No.
Okay. Drew said this last night. I don't know if you can hear what the guys say. Drew said this last night where he thought this was a road trip where it could be the start of sort of truly coalescing as an on-court unit and sort of building toward, okay, the playoffs start in 30 days, and getting where they want to be and how they feel. As a coach, do you look at things that way with like a timeline like that of we want them to look a certain way or practice a certain way as the playoffs approach?
I would just phrase it that we're just trying to get better every day. If you're getting better, there's I would say a much shorter kind of look at things, and we're just kind of as a team individually just want to be getting better each day. If you're doing that, then it just progresses to where you're playing your best basketball going into playoffs is what we're talking about. And so I wouldn't say I go out that far, but I do, commonly say we want to be playing our best going into the playoffs. So it's kind of the same way, just different way of looking at it, maybe saying it.
Well, speaking of Drew, he said he feel physically, he's like, I'm not quite there yet as to where he was before the protocol. And he says those Cleveland games really stick out to him as just in terms of how he felt, but also working with the group. I guess, how have you seen him come back from this? And you feel, I mean, he doesn't think he's there yet, but how have you seen him, I guess, kind of come about and kind of, everyone reintegrate, if lack of a better word?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's had some really good stretches, probably some really good games. And then just like the rest of us, there's, times where, he expects more, we want more. And it's not just him doing things, but like, him using the word, just, I think the connection between he and Giannis, the connection between he and Chris, the connection between he and Brooke, we just got to keep working on that stuff. And I think part of it's just getting reps and more reps and game reps. And, but when he's aggressive, I think that's when we're at our best.
Eric Name.
This year, just like looking at rolling kind of 10-game samples, you guys stick pretty consistently around 10th defensively. You guys were the best defense in the league the last 2 years. You add a guy in Drew that's more talented. I'm curious, just what do you think has led to you guys maybe not being to that elite level defense quite yet this season?
Oh, I think it's a lot of little things. We've kind of discussed them in post game or post practices. It's not one thing. And I think Drew's addition has been great. But I think we also had a lot of really good defenders in the past 2 years, and collectively, there was just there was a lot of and I feel the same way about this group. But I wouldn't discount anybody that was here in the past either. And so I think we just need a little bit more from everybody on an individual level. We need a little bit more from everybody on a team level. And we've done it in stretches. We just got to do it for longer, more of games. And I think there's an individual element and a team element to us, to just us being better defensively.
I was talking to Donte a little bit about red and when you guys are switching, and I just remembered like one of the first games you guys did was Dallas, and him and Drew had mixed up a switch on Doncic early on. They just like kind of screwed it up, didn't communicate the right way. And then last night, I watched you guys switch for a good portion of that game. How do you think you guys have grown in that as the season has gone on? I know that's something that we talked really a lot about before the season started.
Yeah. I think it's been a really good kind of addition, and I think it's like anything there. We have some times where, either we don't communicate it, we don't execute it at the level that you need to. And, we're just looking to get better, and offenses are, they're good. It's not easy. You just can't just say, this is going to be the panacea or going to stop everything. So, but I think overall there's been a lot of growth. I think we're happy with it. We just got to keep working on it, keep getting better.
One thing I'm interested about, your defense in the last 2 years has always been based on help, right? Like you got to help, you got to be interconnected. In switching, sometimes that's maybe not as much the case, that, it's just individual pride. How do you kind of find the balance between getting the guys to switch properly, but then also still help?
Yeah, I mean, some practice time, film time. I think, our just basic defense is not as much predicated on a pick and roll defense as it is, that, like you said, just being there for each other, protecting the rim, scrambling around. And I think we've gotten a lot better there. So regardless of what we're doing, pick and roll, I think that basic kind of fundamental defense has got to be there. And hopefully we can guard the ball better. And that, puts less pressure on our rotations and puts less pressure on our help. But again, like I've said, NBA players are good, offenses are good. You got to be connected and be ready to scramble and cover for each other to guard.
Thanks, bud.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, bud.